Hey everyone, welcome. Today, we're diving into something I find absolutely fascinating. This partnership between artificial intelligence and a really powerful idea in education called the student-centered classroom. Let's get into it. But first, I want to ask you a question. What if your entire education, every single project, every lesson was actually built around your passions, your curiosity, and your goals? Just think about that for a second. That feeling right there, that's the core of what we're talking about today.
Well, that idea has a name. It's called student-centered learning, and it's a philosophy that totally flips the script on the traditional classroom. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, the student gets into the driver's seat of their own education.
Now, this whole approach is built on a few really fundamental beliefs, and these aren't just buzzwords. They're the active ingredients that make this whole thing work. It really boils down to four main pillars. First, learning has to be student-driven, letting their curiosity take the lead. This naturally builds a sense of agency and ownership, which means they have real control. When they have control, it amplifies their student voice, making their ideas the focus. And all of this taps directly into their own motivation and goal setting. This is the secret sauce for a classroom that's truly alive. Okay, so let's bring in the other half of this partnership, artificial intelligence. But for a minute, I want you to stop thinking about AI as just, software. Think of it as a brand new toolkit of skills that we can all learn and master.
And to really get good with this toolkit, students kind of go on a journey through four key stages. It all starts with AI literacy, just understanding the basics of how these things work. From there, you can move to AI ethics, thinking critically about the good and the bad. Then comes AI fluency, which is all about actually using these tools in a smart, responsible way. And for some, the final step is AI development, building the next generation of these tools. You see the path? It takes you from just being a user to being an empowered, active creator.
So that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? We have these two incredibly powerful ideas, the principles of student-centered learning on one side and this new AI toolkit on the other. How do they actually come together and make something amazing? All right, let's build that bridge. The very first connection, and maybe the most powerful one, is how AI can directly empower what we call student agency. It's all about a shift from students just following instructions to students actually leading their own learning journey. And this is where those core beliefs we talked about just a minute ago really light up. Agency and ownership. It's all about giving students the power to make real, meaningful choices. We're not just talking about answering questions, but deciding which questions are worth asking in the first place and what tools they're going to use to find the answers. It's about putting them in control. And check this out. Here's how it actually plays out in the classroom. When a student has to pick the right AI tool for a job, they're not just picking software. They're making a meta choice about how they want to learn. That's ownership. When they learn about an AI's limitations, they're empowered to push back, to question it, and to protect their own voice. And this is the most important part. Human judgment always has the final word. The student, not the algorithm, is in charge. Just look at the night and day difference here. The task on the left, that's about compliance. Write the essay I told you to write. But the task on the right, that's an investigation. It asks the student to think, to choose, to create, and to decide how they want to share what they've learned. That's not just a small change. That is a huge shift in who owns the learning. So this shift in ownership does more than just build agency. It also does something incredible for student voice. AI can become this powerful amplifier, turning up the volume on their ideas and making the whole experience truly student-driven. It's like their ideas, but supercharged. And here's how. AI makes it possible for the learning to adapt to the individual, instead of the other way around. It can support all kinds of unique learning styles, maybe creating visuals for one student, or summarizing complex text for another. And you know what? By taking care of some of the routine, daily tasks, it frees up so much time for the deep, creative, messy work where a student's voice can really come through. And it all comes back to that idea of AI literacy we mentioned. Knowledge really is power here. When students get the difference between types of AI, they can pick the perfect tool for their own personal goal. When they understand how something like generative AI actually works, they can steer it way more effectively. They get the power to make the technology serve their vision, not the other way around. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. Let's zoom out and look at the big picture. What does this new partnership between a student and AI really look like when it's firing on all cylinders?
You know, the ultimate goal here isn't just about using cool new tech for the sake of it. It's about using AI to finally deliver on a dream that educators have had for decades, a learning experience that is truly driven by the student, that builds their agency, that amplifies their voice, and that taps into their own motivation, an experience that feels like it was custom built by them, for them.
So, we'll leave you with this thought. Maybe the real, true promise of AI in our schools isn't about making smarter machines, but about creating the space for more curious, more capable, and more empowered students. So the real question for all of us is, are we ready to let them lead? Thanks for watching.